Hello. I hope you have been watching these videos and enjoying them. I know that they're coming out a little bit more sporadically, and I know that there are, a few things that I said I was going to record that I haven't so far. Trust me, they're boring. I was going to show, as far as um, traveling through and traversing registries to look for anomalies and stuff like that. Just leave that to someone else on your team. You don't want to be the person that actually has to be digging into registries. Nobody likes it. Whoever's job it is, trust me, they don't like it either. With that being said, I have started a new position. I am no longer at my last job. And in my job today, I actually saw a type of alert that got me thinking, hey, I haven't recorded anything in a while, and it got me thinking about SQL injections. Now, I'm not going to sit here and explain SQL in the sense of, if you're watching this video, hopefully you understand what a relational database is. Hopefully you understand, the basics of tables, rows, and columns, and what would be held inside of a relational database. But what we are going to talk about is a few injection commands, and whether we're doing blind injection attacks, or maybe somebody guesses one of the tables and rows inside of that table and can extract some information. It all depends. It depends on your level of knowledge of the database that you're querying, or if you just find some type of website that doesn't respond when you put in a query. What you want is for, well, if you're a hacker, you don't want this, but what you want, as far as if it's your database, if somebody puts in something that's an abnormal input, it needs to be sanitized, it needs to be validated, and there's things called parameterization, which basically will make sure that nobody's able to query your database and actually get any type of return. So, with that said, what we're actually going to be doing is performing injection attacks against Microsoft SQL. Now, if you know Microsoft SQL, it runs over port 1433. How I remember that is S comes before Y, and MySQL runs over 3306, Postgres 5432. That is neither here or there, but just a little bit of knowledge for you next time you go to a trivia night at an IT bar. But, so, one of the first things we're going to do, what you probably should understand, and I'm not going to get too much into this, but SQL injections can be used to, bypass authentication. You can disclose critical information. You can mess with data integrity and the fact that, you can insert malicious content into web pages. You can compromise availability. You can execute codes. And so if you're in IT, hopefully you understand the CIA triad, confidentiality, integrity, availability. Now, we're basically getting into all of those. We're getting into confidential information. We are tampering with the integrity of the information in there. And we can, do a drop table, which I won't show in this just because it would destroy the database and I would have to, reinstall it, which is kind of a nuisance. But we could, and that would be hampering with the availability of such database. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually just going to, we can go on to Chrome. Let me adjust this mic a little bit. I do not have a very sophisticated setup. I also understand that the audio probably isn't the greatest. If you're listening to this and you're having to turn it up a lot, I'm very sorry about that. I tried to adjust the gain in OBS, so if it's popping a lot, especially right there when I said a P, I completely apologize. I am not going to re-record this. I am not a content creator. I'm just, a former educator who would like to show you and bring some of this knowledge to you. So let's go on this goodshopping.com. Now, if you notice here, there is a login page. So let's go to login. And so we have a username and password. Now, one of the first things we want to look for when we're talking about SQL injection attacks is we want to see if it's going to return an error. So in the username field, we're going to type in basically anything, right? And we're going to put a apostrophe. and we're going to say or 1 equals 1, right? And then we're going to put dash dash and hit enter. Now, this shouldn't have logged me in. Now 1 does equal 1. So now we have bypassed authentication. However, that just shouldn't have happened. I was actually not expecting that off the bat. I was expecting it just not to throw an error. And then we were going to talk about the fact, okay, you know, it didn't throw an error, therefore it's probably vulnerable, but it's more than probably vulnerable. It's actually just vulnerable. But let's go ahead and log out of this web page. Now, what we executed here is a blind SQL injection. And it's used when a web application is vulnerable to SQL injection itself. The reason it's called blind is because the results are not visible to us as the attacker. Now, if we were able to see, you know, somewhere in here that was like, you know, username not equal to, or you know, basically if it showed us data as far as the database goes, which is also very very good for an attacker to have. You know, it normally throws out some keywords that are very important. But if it was to show something like that, it would no longer be a blind injection. Oh. So with that, what we will actually do, let's just create a user for this, right? So let's go to server 2019, where this website is currently being hosted. I'm going to pull this up because this actually just makes it easier to log in. If I click here and I click password, and then we can just minimize that again. So let's log in. Also, I'm not using a mouse. I could use a mouse. It's totally on me, but I just got off work. I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything special, so I don't even want to unplug anything to plug my mouse up. Now we're going to see, do you want your PC to be discoverable? We're just going to say yes. That's not exactly going to affect this lab that we're doing, but we're going to do it anyways. So now that we're in here, we're actually going to go, I have to scroll down. I'm going to go down here to search, and I'm just going to type in SQL. People call this SQL. I really enjoy calling it SQL, but that's just kind of up to you. So we're actually going to Microsoft SQL. SQL is going to take us to the wrong place. So give us a second, let this load. Now, when it does load, it's basically going to ask, you know, where do you want to connect? Hopefully it's already form filled. If not, you know, I'll just do a little digging and figure that out. But we should just be able, yep, so right here, we're connected to server 2019 SQL Express. We should just be able to click connect. Okay, now over here, I'll scroll up a little bit. This is our Object Explorer. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to find databases. And then we're going to look for good shopping. Boom. Okay, pretty easy, right? Now we're going to look in our tables, and we should have a login table. There should be a way to actually, I wonder if it's right click. No, not like that. Yeah, okay, so we should actually be able to select basically the top 1,000 rows, which I highly doubt there's even 1,000 in here, but you'll notice we're executing this query, and are you serious? There's only one person? That's fine. So we have one active credential in here, and his name is Smith. I guarantee it's John Smith. With that said, let's go back to our Windows machine and let's create a user. We could create a user here using SQL as far as in the query field that we saw, but I mean, we can do it here. So what we'll do, we'll put this back in here, but we'll actually change this a little bit. Let's say anything. And then right after this apostrophe, let's put a semicolon, which I have to lean down because I'm blind. And made sure that I actually put a semicolon. And we're going to say insert into login values. And let's actually say Alex. make sure we're putting quotations. And in fact, I don't want to throw an error, so I'll do the traditional SQL way and put, oh, and I still did double. I'm so used to doing double. It took me 3 tries to do that with single quotations. I'm a Python programmer by trait, so I can't stand single quotations. And then we'll put comma, and we'll put, password. Boom. And we will close that off. We will put our semicolon, which just means end of statement, basically. When you see a semicolon, it separates your SQL queries. So what this is doing is it's saying insert into, well, actually it's saying anything. Anything doesn't do nothing, as someone would say. And then it's running insert into login. Normally this would be on a separate row, and it would be values. Then you put your values, and you put your semicolon at the end, right? And so with that, let's click login. Okay, now you'll notice we did not put what some would call, a logical operator or Boolean logic or anything like that, as far as like 1 equals 1 or 0 equals, So, so with that, we aren't logged in, but what we did do, hopefully, is if we come here and re-execute this query, we now have an Alex with a login ID of 5. Is just confusing. You would think it would just increment, but I didn't build this database, so don't get mad at me. So now that we have our user in here, and now of course we wouldn't be able to see this as an attacker, but I just want to show you that, I'm not pulling your leg. We should be able to just come in and say Alex and password. And we're in, and I have a 1650 cart, which I can't view. I've actually been on this website to perform labs like this before. Can't view it, so sad. So boom, I mean, we've successfully created a login, and now we're able to access the features of this website. With that being said, let's go ahead and log out. No reason to stay here. Now, with that, what we can also do, we can do any SQL, but what we can do is, let's say, blur apostrophe semicolon. And now let's say, now if you were doing SQL, you would say something like this, right? But just to be lazy, I'm not going to hold down shift. Again, I'm very tired. Let's create a database, right? And let's call it mydb. Let's end that query. And let's put 2 hyphens. Leave the password blank and hit enter. Let's go back to Server 2019. I'm not 100% on how to actually refresh this. Maybe if I close databases, open databases. There is a refresh key here somewhere. For those of you who do not know, I am so blind, just absolutely blind. So sometimes it takes me a second. Oh, it's here. It is there. Okay, so now we have MyDB. Now it shouldn't really have much inside of it. Like if we go to tables, nothing really, right? But what we have done is create it. So actually, with this being said, because we talked about availability earlier, we'll drop this database because it won't, destroy this web page. I won't have to recreate it. But to do that, I mean, it's pretty simple. All I'll have to do is put the word drop here. Hit login. Send our special code to Windows Server 2019. And let's click refresh. Uh-oh, my DB. What's going to happen to you? Login failed. You know what? I got ahead of myself. Drop. No, that should work. That should have worked. I was going to say I didn't put database, but database was already there. So what we'll do, let's refresh with that closed. Now let's expand. Okay, now it's gone. Okay, I thought I had made a mistake, but this should be a lesson to all of you. Believe in yourself. You can do this. So, in the same way, we could also just kind of delete tables out of the database. We aren't exactly going to go over that because, I mean, you saw how to drop the full database. You can, figure out how to drop tables. The same thing, you would just say, drop table and then specify the database. But another thing we can do inside of SQL injections is we can actually run commands. So for that, what we'll do is we're still going to have our first basically line to start committing the injection. We have our apostrophe and we have our semicolon. Now after that, we're going to say execute master period xp underscore cmd shell. We're going to go ping I don't know, www.certifiedhacker.com. We'll specify the size and we'll say 65,000. Now, -L is size. I think of that as pounds, like the weight of the ping that you're sending. And then we're going to say -T, which means till I say stop. That's not what it means, but that is what it does. Apostrophe, semicolon, space, hyphen, hyphen. Now, what this is going to do, obviously, is it's just going to send a ping command. It's going to send a ping command to this website as far as certifiedhacker.com, which is a website hosted by EC Council and included in the iLabs that I'm basically running this sandbox inside of. So let's click log in. Okay, we'll notice that we are basically just spinning a wheel here. And we should get some type of like waiting for server, or should be able to see this actually in action. I'm getting blown up. Let me. Okay, it's college. College is blowing me up saying, hey, you've been accepted, but they send it like 6 times a day. I mean, I'm very glad you accepted me, but leave me alone. Okay, so I don't know why this waiting for server message hasn't popped up, but by looking over this real quick, making sure that there are 2 periods here, because again, blind as a bat, everything looks fine as far as the command. So let's see if we can prove this another way, except I immediately screwed it up. Okay, so now let's see if we can prove it another way. Let's go back to Server 2019. I think it also hosts this Certified Hacker website. And we should be able to actually... Oh, don't tell me we... Okay, I was about to say, if we DOSed this through a ping command... Let's go to Task Manager, more details. Let's go to Processes, and let's actually just look for ping. Any pings? Any pings? Should have just listed processes and find string for ping, but we're here now. We should be in here. Let's see. Let's think here. Let's try details actually. Details. Oh, okay. Ping's running. It's been a long day. So remember, when you're looking for ping, don't look in processes. Look in details. It's one of those details that escapes your mind. So basically from here, we can end this process. We can also just kind of go back to Windows 10 and, oh, well, maybe not. Maybe this is now a bot. Now we're just sending it from behind the scenes, which I don't think so, but what we'll basically do is just end the task. End the process that didn't show up under process. And let's end the third one. Really don't need to. I mean, it's not like doing any damage to the computer, but with my luck, it will, so let's just not do it. So we've basically performed some blind SQL injection attacks. But there are tools for this. We don't have to memorize commands. Trust me, you can, though. I mean, it's just SQL. I'm not asking you to memorize a Java algorithm and how to apply it to a web interface. We're just structured query language. Don't need to check my PC settings. I like them how they are. Now, let's use a tool. Oh my gosh. I actually might like that. I am ready for a new PC. Let's use a tool to basically do this, right? Let's use sqlmap or sqlmap or oh my goodness, or SQLmap. Now, this is a open source penetration testing tool, and it automates the process. And when I say that, I mean like it automates the detection and exploitation of the injection flaws that SQL has. So with that, basically all we need to do is get off of Windows and get to a more powerful tool. By that, of course, I mean Linux. So let's open up my Parrot. And let's say no. And let's open up a mat terminal, or mate. It's always good to have a terminal open. You don't always need it, and I mean, for right now, we're actually just going to go on Firefox. You'll notice that I do not have Chrome on my Parrot. And you may say, hey, you've mentioned in the past that Chrome is your favorite, browser. And you're correct. I do love Chrome, but I think if you're using a Linux environment, you should use Opera or you should use Mozilla. It just has more of a feel. I feel like more of a hacker. So now that we are, there we go. That's what I was waiting for. Every time I start typing, this pops up. Now that we're here, let's go ahead and take out S. HTTPS, of course, is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, or SSL, and it travels over port 443. We don't want to do that. Why don't we want to do that? Because I don't think we have a certificate that actually hosts this website over 443. But we're going to go to Movie Scope. I'm typing with one hand, so sorry if I'm slow. My slowness gets on my nerves too, I promise. So now that we're here, we already know a login for this. It's Sam and test. Go ahead and log in. I think I'm going to do another video about this, but if you notice when I go into certain things in this page, okay, up here, there's a parameter that we could actually tamper with. So say if we put that as 2, we'll go from Sam to John. I think I'm going to make another video about maybe like hacking web servers or web applications and stuff like that. Don't hold me to it, but I might. In fact, I might even record it after this video because I have a pot of coffee brewing, so I have time. Now, now that we have logged into the website, what we can do is we can actually just inspect this. I don't know why this is so small here, but let's click here. Let's go to Q, which is inspect element. Okay, let's go to our console tab. And down here, let's type document. dot cookie. Does tab complete? Yeah, tab completion. You gotta love that. Okay, so here is actually our document cookie. So what we're gonna do is we're actually, wow, this is hard without a mouse. Let's use our group of tools, and now we can get rid of this, and we can actually open up our terminal, which we have. All right, so I'm going to switch user. If you have multiple users on here, you might have to put like switch user tac, or you could, specify the user. But because I only have one user, I can just sit su, and it's going to put me in root. I like to change directory and get into my actual users directory. So if I ls from here, basically I have everything at my fingertips. Which that's not true, but at least all of my tools that I like to use. And we'll go ahead and give that a good clear. So the next thing we want to do is basically open up SQLmap. I like to hit tab to make sure I'm on the right track, because it should autocomplete. But if you notice, when I hit tab twice, it told me, hey, there's 8 SQL tools. What do you want to use? So we're going to say -u. We're gonna, oh man, actually, I don't want to type in this. Oh, what I'm gonna do, I'm going to paste this. That's my cookie. And then I'm gonna come back over here, hit space, quotation, quotation. And now I'm gonna go back to the website, and I'm actually gonna get the URL because I do not want to type all this in. Again, very lazy day. And there's nothing wrong with being lazy. Now let's see if it does it. I might have to type HTTP and all that good stuff, but no, I don't, because I am a hacker. Now let's say -- cookie equals, and let's get to the very end here. And let's say --dbs. Now dbs basically means to enumerate the dbms, which is just what's managing the database, basically. Now what this is going to do, it's going to cause SQLmap to enforce various injection techniques. Error, no, oh my goodness. Cookie. Let's try that. Legal disclaimer. Testing connection to target URL. Do you want to follow? Well, I mean, I don't want it not to follow, so let's just try it. Oh. It is recommended to perform only basic union tests if there is not at least one other potential technique found. Do you want to reduce the number of requests? For this demonstration, let's just say yes. So that should have shown more than that. So look, let's look at our good old query again. Now, if you're in the CH practical, I promise you, it's not going to work the first time. If you're somebody watching this video and you think, oh, this guy sucks, yeah, no, I do. I do suck. But we got our SQL-u, we have our URL, we have -- cookie spelled correctly now. Oh. Syntactual errors. And we got it. Do you want to skip payload specific? Let's say yes. Do you want to include all tests? Let's say yes. This shouldn't take very long. Get parameter ID is vulnerable. Do you want to keep testing? Well, you guessed it. Okay, sweet. Now we have our database names. Now this is something that if we were performing a blind injection attack, well, it's no longer blind. You know, well, it's not blind in the sense that we know what we're attacking. A lot of the time, people consider it blind if you're not getting input back, as far as the website itself giving you, you know, post validation input. But at least we know what we are attacking. So with this, what we can do is we can actually start, choosing database, retrieve tables inside of them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit up. Now we're not going to use this enumeration command anymore. We're actually going to say -D. We're going to look through here. Okay, we're on movie scope, right? Okay. We're on movie scope. So let's stick with that. Let's say movie. Can I hit tab? Nope. Scope. Another reason I use tab is because I'm not a good speller. But let's say tables. I am so scared that that's not supposed to have a space there, so I'm not going to put a space. I don't want to keep making mistakes. Oh, look at that. So now we have the information that's actually held inside of the tables that we have found inside of the database. So with this information, I mean, you just kind of have to know a little SQL as far as, what you want to do. If you want to run queries against them, because we could attack this like we did the last thing, as far as just saying like, select blah, 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 or insert into, blah, blah. But we're not going to do that. What we will do, let's see, let's delete this. Let's do -T. User, we could do profiles, but we're going to do login. --dump. And what we're doing here is we're basically just retrieving the content of the column inside of the table. So the content of the column user login inside of the table movie scope. And we're going to try to get all the data inside of it. Boom. So now we know Sam's login. We know John, we know Ketty, we know Steve, and we know Lee. But now we know their passwords, which you tell me if that's bad, right? Now to verify this, we basically would try to start logging into this, right? So we can switch back here. We can close this developer toolset. We can hit log out. And we can say, let's open this again, Ketty. Ketty is apple. So we'll say Ketty, and we will say apple. And we'll go to view profile just to make sure, but I promise you we are now operating under the user Ketty. So with all of that being said, we've basically talked about some pretty detailed ways to get into this. Well, actually, let's show one more thing, right? Now that we have successfully logged in and we know the information, there's a few other fun things that we can kind of do. And I like SQLmap because I basically just keep having to build off the same command and I don't have to type much. So if we leave everything that we have here, right, and we actually delete all of this to the cookie, we can type --os shell, and we should be able to get an interactive shell. we should get some type of, yep, there we go. Do you want to optimize values? Yes. Oh, here we are. And we'll say host name. Yes, I want it in standard output. And we're operating on server 2019. Now we knew that because in the last exercise, of course, we logged into that so that we could add to it. But if you were an attacker, you wouldn't know that, and now you would. So let's say yes. These are the tasks that's running currently on the machine. We could do a few more. I wonder, can we run a net user command? Boom. So now, of course, stuff like this, we wouldn't really want to enumerate. We wouldn't want to waste our time. But we would definitely want to enumerate administrator, Jason, Martin, Sheila, as far as trying to get their passwords. Now, I'm not going to do any type of cracking here, but hopefully this has shown you that there's a lot of different stuff that, that you can really use just using SQL. Now, if we do net user Jason, okay, so we can see that he is in no local groups, he's in no global groups. So let's try one more. Let's try, what was it, Martin? Okay, he's a user. I don't want to leave without giving you guys a good attack. Username cannot be found. Thought there was a Sheila. Sheila. I'm horrible. Sheila, okay. In my defense, I have an aunt named Sheila. I don't talk to her. She's not a very good person. But that's how you spelled her name. I missed it. I missed it. Okay, so we didn't find an administrator. That's fine, because there is an administrator there. But I was hoping that we could find a user that was connected to the administrator group. Why? Because we would want to only enumerate that, or we'd at least want to enumerate that profile first to try to, pull out information that dealt with an administrator. So I'm going to end this video here. As always, I'm going to include another video after this that kind of deals with remediation. I've shown you how to commit the attack. Now I want to show you how to discover the attack and kind of protect against it. So if you're not interested in that, I will see you in another video. And until I do see you, please do not perform this against any live targets. And honestly don't do it on anything that you don't own unless you have written permission. Not a, hey, can I do this? And they say, yeah, you want written permission, because you can get in a lot of trouble. You can do a lot of damage. And ultimately, we want to be ethical hackers. It's fine whether you're on the red team, you're on a purple team. That doesn't bother me. But if you're just watching videos like this trying to commit malicious deeds, well, you're not somebody who I want to teach anything to be honest. With information like this, honestly, you can make more money in this field by implementing this type of information for good than you can for trying to, pull usernames and deface websites and try to get some type of ransom. So hopefully this was new information to everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And like I said, see you next time.